Heartwarming discovery, Millionaire exposes incredible truth of Nanny and his blind daughter's happiness. Sam sat in his marble-finished mansion, the enormity of the space pressing in on him. Each laugh from the party guests still echoed, but they now felt hollow, their bright allure fading into the night. As he stared into the vast emptiness, he knew he was successful, a self-made millionaire in a picturesque Ohio suburb, but inside, he felt a void. Each extravagant party only deepened his loneliness. The grand chandelier above shone bright, yet the twinkle of happiness was no match for the dim light flickering in his heart. When Maria entered his life, everything changed. She was a dedicated nanny, a beacon of warmth for his blind daughter, Emily. Sam watched in awe as Maria gently guided Emily, her laughter rising like music and shimmering in the air. Sam glimpsed something he hadn't felt in years: joy paired with purpose. Over the weeks, Maria poured herself into caring for Emily, taking the time to understand her fears and delights. She filled their home with bright colors, transforming it in a way that money never could. Sam felt that emotional spark flicker within him, wondering what made her so resilient despite the struggles he knew she faced. Yet, beneath her sunny disposition, Maria carried a burden invisible to most. Her family was grappling with financial troubles that weighed heavily on her shoulders. Each time she received a phone call from home, her face tightened, the joy that defined her flickering. Sam tried to think of a way to help, a way to ease her pain, but found himself wrestling with thoughts he didn't know how to voice. One evening, after a particularly trying day, Sam observed Maria and Emily in a quiet moment. Emily clasped Maria's hand, her fingers tracing the lines of Maria's calloused palms, absorbing the strength behind them. A lump formed in Sam's throat as tears threatened to brim in his eyes, revealing a glimpse of the inequality that pulsed like an undercurrent in their lives. Sam's heart raced as he began to grasp the privilege he had always taken for granted. As summer turned to fall, a health crisis struck Maria's family. The once vibrant laughter in their home dulled under the weight of mounting bills that threatened to crumble their world. In a moment of desperation, Sam stepped forward, wanting to offer financial help. But the gesture came out wrong, twisted by his own inability to truly understand the dynamics at play. Maria looked at him, her anger blazing. "I don't need charity," she yelled, tears streaming down her cheeks. Her words cut through the air like an arrow, striking at the heart of Sam's intentions. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. As the fallout settled, Sam faced the uncomfortable truths of his past. He saw the wealthy facade he lived behind and began questioning his path. Their lives had intertwined in ways he never expected, and with each passing moment, Maria's strength became a mirror reflecting his weaknesses. Then came that shocking secret, a discovery that would shift Sam's world on its axis. It exposed how deeply intertwined their lives really were, revealing the harsh realities of their community. All at once, Sam was left with the monumental choice: to continue living insulated from the truths surrounding him or confront the challenge of redefining success and wealth in a way that embraced connection. Would he take the plunge and bridge the gap between their worlds, or retreat back into that empty mansion, forever haunted by the laughter that rang hollow? The next morning, a pale sunlight streamed through the large windows, casting a warm glow over the mansion. Despite the beauty of the dawn, Sam felt an unrest in his chest. He sat at the kitchen table, staring into a cup of coffee that had gone cold. With each sip he took, the bitterness mirrored the reality he was grappling with. His mind wandered to Maria and the fire in her eyes as she confronted him the night before. He replayed her words in his head, and they twisted like a knife. "I don't need charity." The words weighed on him. He had wanted to help, to ease her pain, but instead, he had pushed her away. Just thinking about it made him feel sick. Emily wandered into the kitchen, her tiny feet padding softly on the marble floor. She touched the rim of the table, reaching out toward Sam's voice. "Daddy?" she asked, her voice small and uncertain, mirroring the confusion Sam felt inside. He turned to her, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. "Good morning, sweetheart." He ruffled her hair softly, trying to tuck away his worries for now. "Are we going on a walk today?" she chirped, her innocence shining through the gray clouds of his thoughts. "Sure, if the weather holds up," he replied, moving to grab her favorite hat from the countertop. As he helped Emily into her jacket, Sam felt the need to talk things through, but the words eluded him. He needed to reach out to Maria, to mend the rift that had formed between them, whispering that he truly wanted to be a friend instead of a benefactor. Secretly, he hoped his actions would not just heal his connection with her but lead him toward a deeper understanding of himself. A few hours later, the smell of fresh leaves and brisk autumn air filled Sam's lungs as they stepped outside. The ground crackled beneath their shoes, a soothing sound that harmonized with the suspicious silence lingering in Sam's thoughts. He guided Emily's delicate hand as they ventured down a familiar trail, enveloped by a shroud of trees painted in vivid reds and golds. "Look, Daddy! The leaves are dancing!" Emily exclaimed, her laughter bursting forth as she twirled around in the small area they reached. Sam couldn't help but chuckle. Her joy was contagious. It reminded him of Maria, how she brought life back into their home. He knew deep down that she needed more than just kindness, she needed respect, understanding, and acceptance as an equal. That night, he finally mustered the courage to knock on her door. He felt his heart beating faster, an urge compelling him to reach out. But when Maria opened the door, her eyes were guarded, a pale barrier built from hurt. "Sam," she started, tension filling the space between them. "Can we talk?" he asked, his voice steady but gentle. "I want to understand." She hesitated for a moment, then stepped aside. "Fine, but this isn't going to be easy." As they settled into the living room, the air thick with unspoken thoughts, Sam braced himself. He needed to share not just what he had to offer, but also what he wished to learn from her struggles, and ultimately from her strength. With every word they exchanged, the connection began to shift. It was a start, a flicker of light breaking through the thick fog of misunderstanding. Sam was ready to embrace this journey, to redefine not just their relationship, but his understanding of wealth and happiness. What neither of them could have anticipated, though, was the unexpected revelation that would emerge from their conversation, one that challenged everything Sam thought he knew about family, love, and sacrifice. As the truth began to unravel, hearts were about to be tested in ways they had never imagined. Could Sam truly grasp the depth of Maria's sacrifice, and how would it change their lives forever? The air grew heavier as Sam and Maria sat across from one another. The tension hung like fog, obscuring clarity. For a moment, neither spoke, each searching for the right words to break the ice. Sam felt the urgency rising in his throat. He needed to speak, to bridge the gap that had formed, but hesitation clawed at him. Maria finally exhaled, a deep breath that felt like it could shake loose her worries. "Why did you come here, Sam?" Her voice, though shaky, held an edge that said she was prepared for anything. "I came because I want to understand," he replied, leaning forward. "I thought we could talk. Maybe find a way to. I don't know, work together. I need to know what you really think, Maria." The fire in her eyes flickered but didn't fade. "You think this is easy for me? That I enjoy being the charity case in your story? I want more than just your help." "No, that's not what I meant," he interjected, his voice firm but gentle. "I don't want to just be your employer. You've done so much more for Emily than I could ever repay. This isn't about money. It never was." He watched as her resolve softened slightly, confusion knitting her brow. "And you think I can just trust you? You've lived your life one way, I've lived mine another. We're not the same, Sam." "I know that," he said, feeling the weight of his privilege wash over him. "But I want to be better. I want to earn your trust, not just for you but for me too. To really understand what it's like for you, for Emily, to live in a world where everything feels like an uphill battle. Silence stretched between them again, but this time it was more contemplative, a battleground for thoughts rather than resentment. Sometimes, Maria began softly, out there, it's not just about surviving. It's about feeling seen, feeling valued. And what you see as help can sometimes feel like a reminder of what's lacking. He nodded, her words sinking deep inside. It was a harsh truth, an awakening he wasn't prepared for. What can I do to change that? What do you need? Her eyes met his, challenging yet vulnerable. You need to see me as more than the nanny. I'm more than what my circumstances seem to dictate. Don't pity me, Sam. That's not what I want. I want someone to believe in me like I believe in myself. A lump formed in his throat, and he understood now. This was the depth of her strength. Not just need or dependence, it was a fierce desire to carve out her own fate, to emerge from the shadows not just as a survivor, but a warrior. I want to believe in you, Maria, he said, his voice stronger now that as their dialogue unfurled, more stories emerged, her laughter mingled with painful memories, bits of hope layered into her dreams. He found himself entrenched in her world, each moment inviting him deeper into her reality. The conversations bled revelation, and he wondered how different their lives could be if he let go of his notions of superiority, but just then, a knock echoed from behind, jolting them. It was Emily. Daddy. Can I come in? The innocence of her voice broke through the seriousness of the moment. Sam's heart softened, torn between his duty to his daughter and the profound connection building with Maria. He nodded, urging her in. What were you two talking about? Emily's curious eyes darted between them as she stepped into the room. Sam exchanged a glance with Maria, a silent agreement passing between them. Just talking about how everyone has a different story, Em. As Emily sparkled with excitement, oblivious to the underlying heaviness of their conversation, Maria wore a smile that hinted at an agreement. They could navigate this road together, Sam thought, each step bringing them closer to something more substantial than charity, a partnership steeped in respect and understanding. But as they settled back into the moment, another question brewed in Sam's mind. Could he truly be the kind of ally Maria needed, and what would happen when faced with the challenges of their blended lives? The walls that shielded their hearts had begun to crumble, revealing the raw, vulnerable parts of themselves. Yet, questions lingered. Were they ready to confront the ghosts of their pasts together? Would the growing bond withstand the trials that awaited them? Emily's laughter rang out like music, lightening the atmosphere that had loomed heavy just moments before. She twirled around the room, her curls bouncing, oblivious to the shift in air. Sam couldn't help but smile at her energy, it was infectious. Are we having a party? She asked, her innocent excitement a comforting balm. Everything in Sam wanted to protect that spark, to guard it fiercely against the weighty realities that hung over their heads. Maria chuckled softly, the tension in her shoulders easing. Something like that. We were just discussing how everyone has a story to tell, and your dad was doing a great job of listening. Dad's the best listener. Emily jumped in, her eyes bright with admiration for him. Can I tell my story too? Yes, absolutely, sweet pea, Sam said, settling back into the role he cherished. He felt the conversation with Maria shift to the back of his mind, momentarily eclipsed by the warmth of his daughter's presence. Well, Emily began, her eyes sparkling with thought, I went to the park today. There were ducks. And they quacked at me. I tried to feed them, but they were scared of me. I think they don't like me, her brow furrowed, concern spilling into her words. Ducks can be silly, they get scared easily, Maria said gently, kneeling down to Emily's level. But I'm sure they just need a bit of time to get used to you. Really? Emily's face brightened again, hope bouncing back like a rubber ball. Of course, Maria continued, her voice soothing. You have a beautiful heart, eventually, they will see that. As they spoke, Sam leaned against the door frame, watching the magic unfold. They were both so different, yet here was Maria, wrapping Emily in empathy. It reminded him just how powerful connection could be, how it could illuminate the darkest parts of life, but just then, the laughter echoed through the house, and a wave of an uncomfortable thought crashed over him. What would happen when they stepped outside this safe bubble? The world was still out there, waiting, full of judgment. "Hey, can we go feed the ducks tomorrow?" Emily asked excitedly, breaking into his thoughts. "Sure," Sam said, though a knot of apprehension tightened in his chest. "But we'll need to make sure they're ready for us." At that moment, Maria caught his eye, her expression revealing a silent understanding. It was one thing to talk about stories and connection, but another to actually step out and face the reactions they might encounter as they began to forge their new relationship. What would others think if they saw them? Could he stomach the whispers behind their backs, the judgments from strangers? Just as quickly as the thought appeared, another one nudged at him. Wasn't it better to brave those thoughts rather than hide away? Could he really embrace who Maria was for his daughter's sake? "Okay. I'll pack snacks." Emily twirled again, blissfully unaware of the noise in her father's head. Maria was still looking at him, searching for answers, her brow slightly creased as if to say that now was the time to make a choice. Could they truly move forward as a unit, or would fear derail them? For a heartbeat, he hesitated. But then, he squarely met her gaze and felt determination fill him. He would stand by Maria, would protect her and Emily, no matter what anyone said. "Tomorrow it is," he said, the words firm yet laced with anticipation. As he said it, a flicker of resolve replaced dread in his heart, and the tension began to unravel. What seemed like an ordinary outing could become extraordinary if they approached it together with bravery. Yet even as hope blossomed, a new question lingered in the air. What truths would they uncover tomorrow? As they embraced the unknown, would they be ready for whatever the world had in store? The morning dawned bright and clear, the sunlight streaming through the kitchen window like a warm embrace. Sam stood by the counter, a bowl of cut fruit in front of him. He could hear Emily singing softly to herself in the living room, her voice floating through the air like a gentle breeze. It tugged at his heart in the best way, a reminder of the joy that she brought into their lives. "Are you ready, Emily?" he called out, sensing the excitement bubbling just beneath the surface. "Almost," she replied, her tone as bright as the sun shining down. Sam glanced over at Maria, who was tying her hair back, coolly composed despite the growing anticipation that echoed in the room. He could see the subtle hints of nervous energy in her movements. She'd practiced this outing in her head 1,000 times, he was sure. Today was a new chapter for all of them, and the weight of that truth felt both thrilling and daunting. A few minutes later, they were on their way, Emily buckled in the back seat, grinning ear to ear. "I can't wait to see the ducks," she exclaimed, her enthusiasm infectious. "Just remember to be gentle," Sam reminded her as he drove, casting glances in the rearview mirror. "Dad, can I feed them, too?" Emily asked eagerly. "Of course. Just like we talked about. One piece of bread at a time." The thought of those ducks made Sam smile, but as they pulled into the park's parking lot, a part of him clenched. The reality of stepping outside their bubble loomed, and he felt that familiar not return. As they strolled toward the pond, he caught sight of a few families already gathered, the laughter of children blending with the quacking of ducks. It was supposed to be innocent fun, yet he felt their eyes on him and Maria. The air thickened with uncertainty, a raw energy that buzzed just beneath the surface. "Look! There's one!" Emily squealed, darting forward to get a closer look, her excitement momentarily pulling him out of his spiraling thoughts. "Wait up, sweet pea!" Sam called out, hurrying after her as Maria followed closely behind, a soft smile painting her face. As Emily approached the water's edge, a small cluster of ducks bobbed closer, and her eyes widened in delight. Adrenaline coursed through Sam, he was both proud and protective. He took a deep breath, watching her reach into her small backpack for the bread. "Do you think they'll like me now?" she asked, looking back at Maria, who knelt down to meet her gaze. "They definitely will," Maria replied, slipping her hand into Emily's. "You just have to be patient and show them your kindness." With a gentle nod, Emily tore off a piece of bread and held it out, trembling with excitement. The ducks wobbled toward her, their quacks growing louder as they recognized the treat. It felt like the world blurred, and in that moment, nothing else existed but them, the ducks, and the delicate bond forming in front of him. Sam's heart swelled as he watched, the fear of judgment temporarily forgotten. But as he glanced around the park, he caught sight of a few heads turning in their direction, whispers starting to circulate among some parents nearby. A familiar feeling crept back in, that uncomfortable knot tightening once more. One comment, one careless look, and it could all come crashing down. "Hey, look over there!" Emily cried, pointing at the ducks. Sam shook off his anxiety, reminding himself he had made a commitment to his daughter, and to Maria. His heart surged with hope. No matter what others thought, he had to treasure moments like these. Then, as Emily tossed another piece of bread and giggled with delight, a louder voice from the nearby picnic table broke into his thoughts. "Isn't it just sad? Those two with that girl." The words hung like a weight in the air. Sam's pulse quickened. He felt the blood rush from his face. How would he react? Would this outing remain a joyful memory or spiral into something he dreaded? Emily turned back to him, eyes wide with expectation. "Did you hear what I said, Dad?" Caught in the battle between fear and love, Sam smiled and responded, "I did. You're amazing." But as laughter erupted again from Emily, a question nagged at him: how could they build a future if shadows still darkened their path? The moment held its breath, and they all felt the fractures of reality seeping in. What would it take for them to rise above judgment and claim their space in the sun together? The ducks quacked louder, their beaks clamoring for Emily's offering. Eyes wide with wonder, she joyfully tossed more bread, each piece more feathery than the last, hovering just above the water like snippets of hope. Sam felt the warmth radiating from her spirit, but a chill seeped in with unwelcome thoughts. "Can we go closer?" Emily asked, her voice pure excitement, eyes sparkling like the sunlight on the water's surface. "Just stay away from the edge, okay?" Maria said, nudging her to stay a safe distance. As they watched the ducks paddle by, Sam's heart fluttered at the sight of Emily's unburdened laughter. But every guffaw felt like a reminder of the prying eyes nearby. He could sense the murmurs at the picnic table, the lingering glances, the judgment hidden behind usually kind features. "What a sad!" Emily piped up, tilting her head, trying to catch a glimpse of what was so wrong about their moment. "Nothing, sweet pea," Sam replied quickly, masking the discomfort that threatened to paint his face red. "Some people just don't understand how special this is," he added, forcing a smile that barely landed. Maria's grip on Emily's hand tightened, a silent signal of solidarity. Sam observed her composed smile, even as her eyes glimmered with concern. It was a look he knew all too well, the one that asked if they could ever truly belong. "Let us feed the ducks again," Emily yelled with glee, reaching into her backpack. "They're so hungry." "Just like us after a long day," Maria remarked, trying to shift the energy, her humor serving as a balm. As they watched more and more ducks flock to Emily, Sam thought about how their little unit had formed through trials. But the air around them was thick with questions, ones he wasn't sure they had the answers to. "Look! That one's coming right up to me," Emily squealed, crouching down to meet the duck eye to eye. In that moment, all Sam could see was his daughter, radiant and glorious, an embodiment of pure love untouched by the world's cruelties. Yet a wave of doubt crashed over him. How was he supposed to protect her from the harsh realities? He felt the weight of the world, heavy like the pressing heat of the sun bearing down on him, reminding him of their struggles. A voice interrupted his spiraling thoughts again. "Why do they let that girl play with them? It's just not right." The words sliced through him like a cold wind. He clenched his fists, but there was a flicker of fire in his heart. It wasn't just about them. It was about Emily, about creating a safe space where love conquers judgment. "Is there something wrong with me?" Emily asked suddenly, her joy flickering as she looked up at him, concern pouring out of her. Of course not. Sam exclaimed, his heart twisting. You're perfect just the way you are. But he knew that it wasn't enough. She deserved better than the fleeting bursts of joy that could dissolve under the weight of prejudice. She deserved to thrive. Maria knelt beside Emily, brushing her hair back and gazing into her eyes with fierce certainty. You are a shining light, sweet girl. People fear what they don't understand. But you bring happiness wherever you go. Sam watched as Emily's smile returned, shining even brighter than before. Yet a pressing question lingered in the back of his mind: how could they change hearts one moment at a time? As they continued to toss bread crumbs and watch the ducks, he promised himself that he'd find a way to protect Emily and their little family, no matter the cost. But in the back of his mind, the pit of dread lingered. Could he defy the judgment threatening to shadow their existence? Just then, as if by fate, a larger, regal-looking duck waddled over, capturing their attention. Emily's delight turned into sheer amazement. Sam's heart quickened with hope. Perhaps this was a sign, a moment to embrace possibility even against the odds. Dad! Look! It's bigger than all the rest. The twist of fate in that moment gave him pause. What if that break of judgment over their family could be shattered, not just for today but for tomorrow? With determination surging, Sam's gaze moved from the majestic duck to his daughter, his resolve deepening. But would they have the courage to face the truth that lay ahead? As they laughed and reveled in the gathering flock, he understood that the real test lay not within the judgments but in how they faced them together. And just as that thought solidified, a loud quack rang from the direction of the picnic table again. Ugh, can you believe they think they're a family? Sam's heart dropped. Would this outing end in turmoil, or was it only the beginning of something beautiful? Emily giggled as the large duck boldly stepped forward. Its feathers glistened in shades of deep green and rich brown, an image of strength and grace. She leaned in, eyes wide, delight radiating from her small frame. Look, Dad. It likes me. Seems like it does, sweetheart, Sam said, trying to shake off the weight of that hurtful comment. Maria stepped closer, her knees brushing against the grass as she joined Emily in marveling at the duck. Maybe it senses your sweetness, my love. Sam couldn't help but smile at their closeness. For a moment, the glowing sun seemed to soften the shadows around them, but the darkness of harsh reality loomed at the edges of their easy laughter. The murmurs from the picnic table still echoed in his mind like a broken record. As the duck chomped down on a piece of bread, Sam felt Emily's warmth seep into his core. Emily, he said, voice steady but soft, do you know how special you are? She nodded, still focused on the duck. I'm special because I have you and Maria. Yes, but it's more than that. You have a light inside you that makes everything around you better, he said. You treat everyone with kindness, even when they don't understand. Emily's brow furrowed as she worked through his words. But, what if they don't want to be nice? A lump formed in Sam's throat. The innocence of her question was a piercing reminder of the cruelty they'd faced. You keep shining bright, Emily. It might take some time, but people eventually see beauty in kindness. Just like how the duck sees the bread, she asked, tilting her head in that adorable way she always did. Exactly, sweet pea. Maria, seeing the rapport between them, smiled gently, her eyes glistening. And we're right beside you, no matter what. Sam smiled at Maria, feeling the comforting strength of their unity. They continued to linger at the lake, feet warmed by sunlight, hearts gradually free of the weight of judgment. Emily's laughter filled the air, a sound that seemed to shatter all negativity. But the faint murmurs from the picnic table persisted, swirling in the background like a cloud threatening to rain. Look at them. They think they can just act like a family. The jibe floated over again, louder this time. Sam's fists clenched, the heat of his anger bubbling dangerously close to the surface. He glanced at Maria, who was now close to Emily, watching the ducks with an almost protective gaze. Sam knew he needed to control this anger, for Emily's sake. He took a deep breath, forcing his voice to remain calm. They can think whatever they want. What matters is how we feel about ourselves. Emily looked up at him, her expression earnest. But I don't want them to be mean, Dad. No one wants that, honey. But we can't change other people's thoughts. We can only show them love. As Sam looked into Emily's trusting eyes, he realized the truth in his own words. Love had the power to overcome so much. Suddenly, a firecracker of an idea sparked in his mind. What if they could show those judgmental eyes the richness of love through something tangible? Perhaps it was time to change the narrative, to build a bridge between them and those who didn't yet understand. Let us do something, he suggested, a determined glint sparking in his eyes. Let us bring some joy to them, the same kind of joy you bring to the world. Emily's face lit up. Like a surprise? What kind of surprise? There's a whole world beyond this park, and we can share part of it. Let us plan something fun with the neighborhood. Something so bright that they won't be able to ignore it. Maria's eyes widened in surprise, enthusiasm growing in her smile. That's brilliant, Sam. We can invite them, show them that we aren't afraid to shine. Yes. We can start with a picnic here next week, get to know them. Maybe they'll realize how special we are too. Emily chirped, bouncing on her toes. Sam's heart swelled with pride and hope. They could forge a path to understanding, and perhaps together they could emerge from this period of doubt into something amazing. But as the idea took root, a nagging thought crept in. Would those who judged them be willing to join in, or would it only add fuel to the fire already burning? As that uncertainty settled in, a heavy weight of vulnerability hung over him. What if this attempt ended in rejection? Would their hope be dashed again? The flock of ducks suddenly quacked in a chaotic mix, breaking the tense moment. The larger duck turned to face them again, seemingly unfazed by the looming challenges. Emily squealed with delight at the noise, a stark reminder of the beauty that could still thrive around them. With determination growing, Sam smiled at his little family. They would embrace this challenge together. And whatever came next, they'd stand strong, united against the world. But as they prepared to leave the lakeside, another harsh laugh cut through the air from the table. Can you imagine a bunch of ducks at a picnic? Would they ultimately bring love to those who questioned their place, or would they simply remain 2 steps ahead of the darkness trailing behind? The next week arrived with excitement that buzzed in the air. Sam could feel it in every little thing, the way the sun filtered through the leaves, the soft rustling of the grass, and especially the eager whispers of Emily and Maria as they planned their picnic. It was an opportunity, a chance to light up the shadows that had recently clouded their lives. Sam hoped this bright idea would connect them with the neighbors, that maybe kindness could break through the walls of judgment. As Saturday approached, Emily's enthusiasm grew infectious. Can I decorate the picnic table, Dad? I want it to look super special. Her eyes sparkled with joy, and Sam couldn't deny the wave of warmth that flooded through him. Absolutely. We'll grab some streamers and balloons, Maria suggested, ruffling Emily's hair. But amidst the joy, that nagging worry persisted in the back of Sam's mind. What if no one came? What if the laughter of their little family clashed with the coldness of those who had looked down on them? He shook those thoughts away, deciding that he couldn't allow fear to overshadow Emily's excitement. On the morning of the picnic, the sun emerged bright and inviting. They arrived early, setting up the picnic blanket under a sprawling oak tree, the shade offering refuge from the heat. The gentle breeze was a comforting presence, rustling the leaves as Emily arranged colorful napkins and cups while Maria prepared their favorite sandwiches. As they stood back to admire their work, Sam heard a distant laughter followed by curious murmurs. His heart skipped a beat. Could it be? He held his breath, straining to catch a glimpse of any familiar faces from the picnic table. Look, look! Emily's voice broke through his nervous thoughts. Here come the ducks. But it wasn't just the ducks, the neighbors were approaching as well, hesitant but intrigued. Sam could see the children from the nearby houses, and with them came their parents. Some glanced at each other, uncertainty written on their faces. It was clear they hadn't expected their invitation to be taken seriously. "Wow, is that a real picnic?" one girl asked, her eyes wide with fascination. Emily beamed, "Yes. You're all invited." She skipped over, arms outstretched. As they approached, conversation began to swirl. "You know, I didn't think they would actually do this," a voice broke through from the group. It was the same person who had made that biting comment days ago. Sam felt his heart race, anger bubbling up again until he caught Maria's supportive gaze. She stood firm beside Emily, her expression encouraging. They would face this, together. "Thank you for coming," Sam said, trying to keep his tone light. "We thought it might be nice to connect, maybe share some fun." Maria began to distribute sandwiches, her gentle voice drawing people in. "We made a little of everything. Come on, try it." Emily threw herself into her interactions, displaying her warmth without reservation. "And there are cookies too. My favorite." Some neighbors began to smile, their defenses lowering as they took food and engaged in light banter. Sam felt the warmth return, a flicker of hope igniting in him. Maybe, just maybe, this picnic could create a turning point. The laughter began to echo. Kids were running, ducks quacking as they crowded around in hopes of a crumb or two. But just as the mood began to lighten, that voice spoke again, this time sharper. "This just feels like a charity case," came the sneer. A silence fell like a blanket over the gathering. Sam's stomach twisted. All their efforts teetered on the edge of falling apart. He glanced at Emily, who looked confused and hurt, her smile fading. He needed to act. "Actually," he interjected, voice steady, "it's an invitation. We thought it'd be fun to share a moment, to enjoy the company of our community." He took a breath, pushing through the discomfort. Sometimes the best moments come from uncertainty. Emily, encouraged by her dad's words, stepped forward. "Love is a lot like bread, you have to share it for it to grow." Her innocence cut through the tension, and a small wave of chuckles broke out among the parents. It was a simple yet profound truth. Sam saw the shift, how people's expressions softened, but just as he began to believe things could change, he caught sight of one neighbor approaching the picnic with a frown. "That's cute and everything," she said with a sardonic tone. "But what makes you think we want to join your little event?" Everything inside Sam tensed up again. The spark of hope flickered. Would the kindness they showed simply be met with more spite? What happens when the picnic ends? The woman continued, crossing her arms. Suddenly, Sam felt an overwhelming urge to respond. The moment felt weighty. He needed to share something vital, something that cut through this. And then, without thinking twice, he said, "What happens is up to us, you, me, everyone here. It's how we decide to embrace what connects us or walk away." Would they really come together or allow judgment to pull them apart again? Sam felt the stakes rise. Could love truly breach these barriers, or was it destined to succumb to the harshness of their reality? The air around them was thick with tension and uncertainty, as he cautiously awaited their response. The silence that followed Sam's words hung over the picnic like a heavy cloud. He could feel the weight of every gaze, the eyes of neighbors flickering with confusion and doubt. He took a deep breath, hoping his heart wouldn't betray him. Would they see the sincerity in Emily's eyes? Just then, the little girl who had looked so astonished earlier stepped forward, her timid voice cutting through the quiet. I think sharing things is nice," she said, glancing at Sam before twirling her fingers around the hem of her shirt. "My mom says it's like a big family. And I like big families." Sam's heart warmed. Maybe they weren't so different after all. Slowly, other kids began to chime in, echoing the sentiment with nods and murmurs. One boy tugged at his mother's sleeve. "Can we stay, Mom?" I want to play with Emily. The woman, still a bit skeptical, looked down at her son. She opened her mouth as if to object but then paused. The soft chatter of laughter and the joy radiating from Emily can often lead to unexpected places. Tentatively, she joined the group. Sam felt a rush of relief. The walls were starting to crack, and he wanted to fan that flame. Look, we can play a game. Sam suggested, trying not to sound too eager. We brought a frisbee too. It's a good way to get everyone moving. Emily clapped her hands together and dashed toward a nearby tree where she had tossed her bright blue frisbee earlier. The other kids, encouraged by Emily's enthusiasm, quickly followed suit. Laughter filled the air again, light and bouncy like the frisbee itself darting across the sky. Sam watched as the kids began to play, their previous reservations melting away. A few parents lingered behind, arms crossed but with twinkling smiles that slowly emerged. Sam glanced at Maria, who was helping with the sandwiches. Their eyes met, and he knew they shared the same feeling: this was worth it. Do you want to join in? Maria called to the hesitant parents. We've got plenty of sandwiches left. Besides, there's always room for more. One by one, the neighbors started stepping closer, sharing laughter as they tentatively accepted the invitation. It was a small miracle, those simple gestures of openness, but it felt monumental to each person involved. Then the neighbor, who had sneered before, approached Sam again. She looked pensive now, her usual sharp expression softening. You know, she began, her tone less defensive, maybe we've been too quick to judge. Sam's chest tightened with hope. He nodded, wishing for the right words but feeling the power of connection lay in unspoken understanding. We're all just trying to live and love, he replied, letting the warmth spill over his words. Just then, Emily, with cheeks flushed and laughter ringing, tripped lightly over a root, catching herself just in time. She looked up, eyes bright, and called out with glee. See? We can all be friends. Right? In that moment, Sam could see the borders of division blur, the lines of division fade as smiles blossom where there had once been frowns. Their small picnic was forging new paths, creating something that had felt so unattainable just hours before, but just as the community seemed to draw nearer, Sam's heart clenched again. He noticed a small group of people standing a bit farther away, their expressions still tight, watching through aloof eyes. What would it take to bring them in? Just then, the wind shifted, carrying a whisper of uncertainty. The fear that had loomed before threatened to resurface. Could they keep the momentum going? Would new barriers form as quickly as the old ones began to fade? As the laughter swirled around him, Sam felt both a spark of hope and a shadow of doubt. What would happen next? Would they rediscover true connection, or would the deeper divides resurface just as the sun set on their gathering? As the sun dipped lower in the sky, painting the horizon with hues of orange and pink, a sense of unity enveloped the picnic. Sam watched as Emily chased the frisbee, her laughter mingling with the chatter of newfound friends. Each giggle, each smile, bridged the gap that had once seemed insurmountable. It felt like they were crafting a new narrative, one that pushed against the barriers of judgment. Maria joined Emily, running after the frisbee and helping the kids engage in a friendly game. Sam felt pride swell in his chest. Not just for the connection they were building but for how Maria was thriving right alongside Emily. She was no longer simply the nanny, she'd become part of their family, part of something larger. A few parents, who previously lingered on the fringes, were drawn in, slowly relaxing their guarded expressions. Sam caught snippets of conversations blooming around him. Topics shifted from wary glances to shared stories, laughter sparking where silence had once reigned. Amid the joyful chaos, Sam noticed the same neighbor who had cast that judgmental comment earlier she was observing from a distance with interest. He took a deep breath, summoning courage as he decided to approach her. He wanted to invite her into this moment, to show her that this wasn't merely a whim but a blossoming community of kindness. Hey, he said softly as he sidled up next to her. It's a nice turnout, don't you think? Kids being kids. She looked at him, surprise flashing across her features. I didn't expect this, she murmured, glancing at Emily who was filled with pure joy. Neither did I, he admitted, leaning against a tree. To be honest, I was nervous. But it seems like people are really starting to connect. She nodded slowly, watching the scene unfold closely. I know I can be quick to judge. I guess I've just been stuck in my own head for too long, she confessed, almost hesitantly. In that moment, Sam understood. He didn't want to induce guilt, but rather the beauty of compassion. Sometimes we all hide behind our comfort zones, thinking we know the complete story. But moments like these, with Emily and Maria, they teach us a lot. The woman's gaze softened. Yeah, you're right. I see how happy they are, and it makes me rethink things. As their conversation flowed, Sam felt that inexplicable thread of connection weaving through him and the neighbor, drawing them into a collective experience. Suddenly, Emily darted toward them, her bright eyes sparkling. Hey, can you play with us? She asked, her excitement breaking barriers before they could rise again. Without realizing it, a friendly smile crept onto the neighbor's face. Sure, why not? But I warn you, I'm really bad at catching. Sam chuckled, knowing any move toward honesty created space for growth. As the neighbor joined the game, it lit a fire among the parents who had lingered. One by one, they began to engage, not only in the game but with one another. Families were mingling, laughter rose like a melody, and the heaviness that once cloaked them began to dissolve. Maria caught Sam's eye from across the park, her countenance glowing. She nodded, affirming the bond forged in shared dreams and laughter under the glistening afternoon sun. It was a moment that encapsulated everything they had fought for, the chance to rewrite their narrative, every brush of hands in connection, every smile ricocheting against isolation. As twilight descended over the horizon, the picnic flickered to a close, but its echoes resided within them. They joined hands, three of them together, the fabric of their family stitched by trial, acceptance, and hope. That evening, Sam felt a lightness in his chest. He understood that judgment would always exist, change often took time. But at that moment, they were transcending barriers. They were a family voyaging into a world that would slowly come to see them as they truly were, not as the sum of their parts but as unified hearts filled with love. As he packed up and glanced back at the fading sun, Sam made a promise to himself. He would continue to nurture this bond, fight against the tide of judgment, and cultivate an endless garden of understanding. Because in the heart of it all, that wholeness they felt together, interconnected, was more than just survival, it was the beginning of something beautiful. And as they headed home, laughter floated behind them like a warm breeze from the lake, whispering to the community that love is indeed the strongest force of all. If you found inspiration and hope in this story, you need to subscribe now to the channel to not miss the next exclusive tales that ignite our hearts. Hit that like button to feed the algorithm and let it know you want more of this transformative content. Comment below with your feelings about this ending, what resonated with you. And do not wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this journey of love and connection. Let us spread the word. Together, we can make a difference.